Hello, I'm Dawn Durham, and welcome to PaTTANpod. As parents, the extended school closure leaves us feeling unsure as to how to proceed with our own children who receive special education services. Joining us today are three individuals that will help us answer these questions for our own children. Joining us is Jeannine Brinkley, the Executive Director of the PEAL Center, Luz Hernandez, the Executive Director of HUNY, and Jill Herenda-Patton, the Executive Director of Mission Empower. Thank you all so much for being here on PaTTANpod. We're excited to have you. Jill, if I could start with you, can you tell us a little bit about Mission Empower?
Sure, I'd be glad to. Mission Empower is a community parent resource center serving children, youth, young adults with a full range of disabilities and their families and the professionals who work alongside of them in Erie County, Pennsylvania. Our most sought after service is our individual technical assistance, which means parent coaching and mentoring. We support families during the special education process. We're available to creatively strategize with families, help teach them about their rights, responsibilities within the special education system, help them to become informed decision makers, and also to work more collaboratively with school personnel. During this COVID crisis, we are available to attend school meetings, IEP meetings, evaluation report meetings virtually, and we will support the family during this time. Also, we provide access to resources and trainings, and our trainings are still online, and they are every Wednesday, and they're called Wednesdays with Wendy. Wendy Wotecki is our family support coordinator, facilitating our trainings. We've had topics such as self-care, understanding resources, and the new guidance coming out of Pennsylvania Department of Education. It's at 3 o'clock on Wednesdays. Please join us. The link will be on Facebook and our website and in our newsletters. Also, we provide an advocate. We have a very robust youth and vision program where youth will gain valuable information and resources. We have trainings still online weekly and support groups. The link for that can be on our Facebook page. And within our youth and vision programming, it kicks off in the summer in August with a summit. So far, it's still scheduled for August 12th through the 14th. And information will be coming up about this soon.
Jill, what I hear you saying, and I think this is the key piece here, is this is really for coaching and mentoring for families, that you're really helping to build up their skill set and their knowledge and understanding of their rights and responsibilities to be, as you had said, informed decision makers. So I think that work is so valuable, not just now during our current situation, but all the time for our students, particularly for our students who do have disabilities. Now, let me ask you this in regards to continuity of education. How can parents and families be accessing you right now to be able to gain these supports and trainings that you had indicated?
Yes, thank you for asking. They may still call our office at area code 814-825-0788. Leave a message with the appropriate staff, or if they're not sure who to contact, they can press 115, that's our general information box, and staff will return their phone call. Parents and professionals may also access through our website at missionempower.org. Excuse me. And again, that's missionempower.org. We have many resources and also COVID-19 resources. Excuse me. They may access also, there's a contact information, and the email goes directly to me, and I will forward it to the appropriate staff. Also, we have trainings online every Wednesday. The link for that can be found on our website, Facebook page, or in our newsletter. Also, our youth trainings are online as well. And I believe that's it.
Sounds like there's a lot of online access to you, especially right now, since we can't be face-to-face to receiving these supports. And I just want to, again, mention missionempower.org would be the website to go to. You had indicated that contact information is there, your trainings, the links to those Wednesdays with Wendy is there. You also have a Facebook page that folks can access to gain information. And I just want to share this phone number one more time, 814-825-0788, which would put us in direct contact with Mission Empower. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent, excellent. Well, thank you so much, Jill. We appreciate knowing that we have these options available for our families.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Jeannine, I want to jump over to you here. As the executive director of the PEAL Center, what are some considerations for parents regarding how best to go about engaging with the school team to ensure we don't have any interruption in continuity of education?
Well, we have some suggestions for sure, but we also know some families are really struggling to take care of their basic needs. So I think the first thing to say is that, you know, you've got to take care of your health and wellness and your family's health and wellness first. But here are some suggestions, and some of them sound really, really basic, but we realize that a lot of folks have had challenges with communicating. So one thing to do is to just be sure that your school team has your correct email address and or phone number to reach you and knows the best way you prefer to communicate with them. And if you've not heard from your school, reach out to your child's teacher. And if you don't get a hold of them, reach out to the building principal or another administrator. Schools are doing what they can to connect with families, but especially larger school districts may still be challenged in connecting with everybody. And you need to focus on what your child's most important learning needs are right now. So, you know, if it means you just really focus on working with them on their math and their reading or their speech and language, that's fine. It doesn't have to be the full breadth of the education kids would typically get when they're at school. And we do recognize also that there are some students with disabilities that distance learning just doesn't really work for them. And so I know schools are continually brainstorming, trying to plan and figure out ways to reach and teach those children. But even if you're not sure a teaching strategy will work for your child, encourage your child to give it a try for a few times, unless it's causing too much stress or anxiety, of course. And make sure you give feedback to your school team on what's working and what's not working for your child. Collaborate with your school team and think creatively during this time when schools are closed, and really think of this as an interim plan. It's not going to be forever this way, at least we all hope so. And be reassured that if your child does experience regression, the IEP team will meet to continue or to consider how to provide compensatory education once schools are open. And the last thing is to remember that the IEP that was in place when school closed will be back in place when school resumes.
So when we think about that, you know, there's some really good tips here to think just from basic, make sure the school has your correct contact information. And if you haven't heard from the school, reach out to them. As you had said, you know, we have some very large districts who are doing everything that they can to ensure continuity of education for all students. But it is possible that they haven't been able to reach out to every single parent as of yet. So to make sure that take that role on yourself and reach out to those teachers, to that IEP team. And I really appreciate you saying, for those parents out there who are working with their students at home, to ensure we don't interrupt education, you know, it's okay if it's not perfect. It's okay if it's not exactly what the student would have received in the classroom. Everyone's doing the best they can. And as parents, I think it's really important that we highlight we too are doing the best we can. So thank you so much for sharing that insight. I think it really goes a long way. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Another thing I want to ask you about is, and you kind of talked about this a bit, is as a parent, how can I gain access to anything I may need? Do I just simply reach out to my IEP team? Are there other resources and entities available that I could be reaching out to or accessing for assistance right now?
Well, so the first bit of advice I can give here is to be honest with the school about what your family has the capacity to support and what you don't have the capacity to support. And if you can't facilitate learning in the way the school is suggesting, let them know that. And there shouldn't be any negative consequences under those circumstances. But the other thing is the PEAL Center has a number of webinars we've put together. We also have a web page, COVID-19 web page, where we've tried to gather a lot of helpful resources. So resources about education, but also resources about where you can connect with basic needs. We did a webinar on ways to provide virtual specially designed instruction, which is recorded and on our website, and families found that very helpful. And we're actually participating in a PaTTAN Together at Home conference next week as well, Luz is as well, to share some more information with families and youth. You can also review your child's IEP and most recent progress report. Maybe you haven't taken a look at that in a while. Sometimes we just look at that once a year at the annual meeting, to remind yourself sort of what was working for your child, where they were progressing, what kind of supports they were getting, to see how can we maybe do some of this at home. And we also really suggest collecting data that might show any regression or skill loss that you're seeing for your child. But it doesn't have to be high-tech data. It can include notes about the progress on a little calendar, videos, photos, audio recordings, work products or samples, things your child writes or draws, math worksheets, art projects, etc. Because all that information will be helpful when the team meets to consider what relearning needs to happen, what reteaching needs to happen, and what was working. And actually, we found some families who have actually found some things working at home that they didn't think would work at home. And some kids are doing better at home than they actually do at school with the virtual environment. But then there are others who aren't doing as well. So it's important to keep gather as much information as you can, and help your child also, especially if they're a teenager. Help them keep maybe a little journal or keep notes on what they like about doing school this way and what they don't like, because I think we're going to open up some possibilities for some different ways of learning for our kids.
Oh, I love that. The idea that we could, really collect data as at home. I didn't think of that, but, when we think of data, we think of this high tech, we got to enter it into some kind of data management system. But as you said, it could be notes I'm taking on my child. It could be a recording I made of my child doing work or struggling with work to say, hey, look, this isn't going so well for me here. So any of those, and you had said, have your student or your child write notes in a journal. That also would be an indication of when we do get back to more traditional face-to-face instruction, what that IEP team may need to consider for looking at the instruction moving forward. So I think those are good, helpful tips. Visit the PEAL Center's webpage is what I'm hearing you also say. There's some webinars and some very specific resources for COVID-19 that families would find of value. So definitely encourage those who are listening to visit the PEAL Center's webpage. Thank you so much for that, Jeannine. I appreciate it.
Sure. And there's just one other thing I wanted to add if I could, and that is that the PEAL Center does provide individual assistance to families via email or phone. We're working remotely, but we respond as quickly as possible. And if we don't have the answer or we can't assist you, we'll work to connect families and professionals to others who can assist. We're having some virtual opportunities for youth with disabilities to connect, learn, and share every Thursday at noon. And that information is also on our social media and our website.
Great. I appreciate knowing that there's some individualized support and assistance that can be offered. And again, to reach out to the PEAL Center to obtain access to that individualized support. And I think for us parents out there, that's going to be very useful. Thank you so much for that.
Sure enough.
Luz, I want to finish off with talking with you in regards to our non-native English speakers. And we have to have this conversation. As parents are out there trying to ensure continuity of education, what can we offer them in knowing what and how they can go about doing this for their own children?
One of the things that we have to remember is that continuity of education goes hand in hand with family engagement. So ensuring that family engagement, we are engaging with the schools at all times. We're keeping in contact with the schools, because at the end of the day, if we do not value family engagement, we're going to be left behind. So one of the things is really engaging with the schools, like Jeannine Brinkley mentioned earlier. And in order to succeed in our efforts of continuity of education for non-native English speakers and beyond, through this epidemic, educators need to consider certain things in order to ensure that the children are getting what they need in school. Some of the issues that might be necessary to think about is if the person doesn't speak the language, if they can't read, if they don't understand the technologies, how can we as educators help the families and the children through this process? Families who are non-native English speakers need to be provided with linguistic and culturally appropriate information, tips and strategies on working with their school teams virtually or by face-to-face. Sometimes receiving that information in their native language is what they'll need in order to truly communicate with the schools. So those are all things that as educators we need to consider. And as parents, we need to ensure that our voices are heard, and we need to work with the schools, inform the schools that we need this information. So request it from the schools. There is language lines and other things that schools can use in order to be able to communicate with parents. So we need to ensure that we're using those avenues appropriately. You know, many parents are overwhelmed. We're all overwhelmed at this point. So providing them with the tools in their native language will relieve some of that stress and allow them to focus on their child's education. In addition, IUs have provided teacher training on how to use the technologies. Perhaps one of the suggestions would be is being able to provide somewhat of the same trainings, if not the same trainings, to some of the families, so they know how to access those technologies as well. So families need to ask. I cannot access the technologies, contact their schools, contact their IUs, either way, let them know what's going on so that they can be able to ensure that the families can access those technologies.
So it sounds like when we,
I'm
sorry, Luz, go ahead. I apologize. Go right ahead.
So on a side note, studies have shown that most families have access to technology to some degree. So we all know access is there. We just have to ensure that the access is, that they have the access and that it's not limited to just the knowledge of the parents when it comes to that technology or the limitation of the technologies themselves.
It really sounds like, we need to be thinking about if we are unable to adequately communicate, we need to let someone know we need this in an appropriate communication manner. And on the school's end, ensuring that communication is shared in a linguistically and culturally appropriate manner to ensure access for all families and all children moving forward for continuity of education. Am I understanding that correctly?
Absolutely, absolutely. If we succeed at family, if we do this, we will succeed at family engagement. Now in this pandemic and into the new world we're treading into, we really need to focus our efforts to really collaborate and work together, both families and schools, because this is a different platform. This is a different way of learning, but we can do it. We just need to focus. Also, I just wanted to mention that providing families with resources in their community is going to be key in this as well. CUNY has a variety of information and resources that schools can provide statewide. We provide the information. Everything we do is bilingual, so English and Spanish. So understanding that, I think, is key, helping the families through that. There's many organizations like PEAL and PaTTAN and the likes, which are out there ready and able to assist families. So that's one of the key things, is that families and schools can work together by schools just providing them with the information that they need.
I think I want to circle back to that family engagement. As you had said, that's the real connection here with all of us, is keeping families engaged. And that looks differently from before versus now versus in the future. But the key is to engage families and the children, the school teams, the community, the neighboring areas, to really ensure the success for all students during this continuity of education and moving forward. Now, Luz, if you can, and I know you talked about there's resources, the PEAL Center, CUNY, PaTTAN. Is there any way in which a parent who is struggling with ensuring that the communication is adequate, or ensuring that their children at home are receiving the best that they can in our current situation, is there anything, any other resources or places that parents should be going?
Absolutely. So on CUNY's website, you will find information about COVID-19. We have a link on our main web page called COVID-19. In there, you will find our current schedule and program leads direct email so the families can contact them. You can also call us per usual. But we have dedicated web pages on the main page of our website, cunyinc.org, for COVID-19 and educational resources. There are two separate links, and they're both in English and Spanish. CUNY does everything bilingual. They are live links, so they are continuously being revised, changed, or added information. In the educational resource link, you will find an educator's toolkit. This is new, which provides educators with curriculums, lesson plans, and activities with live links to a variety of educational fun games and activities that are linked to the Pennsylvania core standards. Families and youth, of course, can dabble with it, but on that link as well are educational resources that are fun and interactive for youth and families that they can do at home, that are organized by subject area and grade level content. CUNY is also hosting webinars. The webinars are bilingual. We have Andy's Cafe, that's every Wednesday at noon. They're providing information on what's happening locally, statewide, and nationally. Topics, they're discussing different things like Medicaid, changes in Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, the changes that are happening with the Office of Long-Term Living, and other. They also, in addition to information on what's happening with COVID-19 today, is also topics of interest that are being chosen, like emotional well-being, meditation. In May, we'll have various experts, the end of this month, that's just May into June, various experts about COVID-19 in the world of education and medicine. And we are providing special education trainings every Monday at 1. Currently, they're in English, and then they'll switch to Spanish. These trainings are on everything you need to know about special education, from evaluation to transition to adult life with the COVID-19 twist, if you will. And you can find that information on CUNY's calendar of events and our website as well. We are using social media platform, specifically Facebook, to really, on a daily basis, bring information in English and Spanish on a variety of topics related to COVID-19, education, and more. So Twitter we're using as well, but if you look into Facebook, look for us under CUNY Inc. or on Twitter under PhilaCUNY. And lastly, as Jeannine Brinkley also mentioned, Families to the Max. So Families to the Max is a statewide network of families of children and youth with disabilities that work together pursuing competence and having high expectations for their children. We're recruiting currently, so please look us up as well. For more information, you could go to cunyinc.org/F2MAXX or call us directly at 215-595-5866. And lastly, but not least, is CUNY's youth program, better known as HYPE. It's open for registration. So we've expanded the program to be able to accommodate youth with disabilities throughout Pennsylvania. So if you are a youth or you know of a youth that you would like to join our youth in learning and socializing virtually, this is the place to be. Youth with disabilities who need assistance with homework, getting on track to graduation, accessing the virtual platforms, or simply want to engage in fun learning activities. And most importantly, during this pandemic, is socialization with other youth are welcome to apply. So registration is limited, so please call us and we'll be more than happy. All of the information that I've provided is on our website. You can either call us at 425-6203, 215-425-6203, email us at contactus@cunyinc.org, visit us on the web or through Facebook and our social mediums.
It sounds like there's so many resources out there that Luz, you shared, Jeannine, Jill, you've all shared in regards to being able to allow families who are in need right now of services for their own children to really reach out and have access to quite phenomenal resources, folks, webinars, in-person or, virtual live sessions, youth sessions. There's just so much out there that I really encourage those who are listening to reach out to the PEAL Center, to CUNY, to Mission Empower, to really take advantage of what we have going on during COVID-19, but even beyond this pandemic that we're having and during, beyond continuity of education, these resources are still available. So ladies, I thank you so much for joining PaTTANpod today to really highlight what parents have access to and are able to pull support from during this unprecedented, challenging, difficult time for our own children. So thank you so much for joining the program. We're so excited that you were here with us today.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you and share information. I hope we get this out to lots of families and professionals who work with them.
Yes, thank you very much. We look forward to serving.
A special thank you to all of those teachers out there. You are an inspiration to your students and to so many more right now during these times. Special thank you goes to John Ragsdale for producing this podcast. We'll see you next time on PaTTANpod. Stay safe, be well.